Hello, Tana. How's it going today?
Hi, Jason. Everything is great. How are you?
Yeah, I'm having fun. I'm continuing to learn a lot, man. Today's book chat was one that surprised me and moved me. I learned a lot in this one. We kind of took a little bit of a break from a lot of the block and tactical, or say block and tactical type productivity and efficiency stuff, and went kind of to a seriously high meta level one here.
Sure.
Yeah, and I can't wait to talk to you about this. And just for anyone who listens or watches this, we did not, we don't talk before these book chats. This is candid feedback. We're not selling anything. We're just like sharing things that we learn. Now, this book is a book called Deviate. The subtitle is The Science of Seeing Differently, by a gentleman named Beau Lotto or Lotto. I'm not sure how it's pronounced, Lotto.
Sorry,
Definitely
heard it.
yeah, definitely a next level thinker here. And it was a paradigm cracker. I think that's about half the crowd that might listen to this will turn it off after about 25%. But the crowd that stays on they're going to be like, whoa, I'm probably going to have to read that book.
Yeah.
So before I go on to an epic rant, tell me what you thought about this book from a real high level.
From a real high level, I enjoyed this book. It's definitely not a nitty-gritty how to save time or be productive like we tend to do. It's more like you said, a very high level, like, what do you think you know, and do you really know it kind of book, where it makes a large part of the argument is uncertainty is the problem that our brain is trying to solve. And our brains crave certainty for safety. But this book encourages us to celebrate the courage of doubt and uncertainty, which is a very next level human evolution kind of thing to even be thinking about. So I definitely enjoyed how it just scientifically looked at, how do you know what you know? Do you actually know what you know? Do you know that the things that even you see are not necessarily the truth of the matter? And it talks about scientifically how we see things and how we see different things based on different scenarios and who we are and things like that. So it's very high level woo almost sometimes, but it's a very important paradigm to have in your repertoire, because most of the time we're trying to find certainty. But if you're always trying to find certainty, that is too far in one direction. And you need to also realize that uncertainty is a very important skill and place that you allow yourself to go and not be scared of it, because that's also a very important part of the spectrum of our human experience.
Right on. Yeah, the trance of certainty with us, me, you, every human, it stops progress. It makes people fall into the camps that we're all so familiar with. Trump, Biden, left, right, vaccine, no vaccine. And there's such certainty around it that there cannot possibly be progress. Mm-hmm. And so that liminal space, the paradox in the middle, is where all the magic lies. But it requires an incredibly mature human to sit in that and not let our emotions hijack reality.
Yeah.
And so we just fall into this comfort camp, one or the other, or somewhere in the middle of the gamut there. But that cracking that trance of certainty and letting yourself dabble in chaos, dabble in uncomfort, that's where magic and progress and evolution actually literally happens. And in the book, he gets into what happens to the physical brain when we delve into chaos and uncertainty deliberately. Mm-hmm. And it's ironic that the person who introduced this book to me works for it's an organization called Talos Institute. And they deliberately throw their clients into that liminal unknown space so that they can have the big breakthroughs. Because we all know the hardest times are what created the greatest innovations. It's God's law, And if you want to stay in your little comfort zone and eat your big steaks and just be comfortable, okay, there's nothing actually wrong with that. But if your goal is actually to progress this species and you, that's not where it's going to be found. It's just not. So that's what this book is about from a real high level. I made about 7 or 9 notes here. I'd love to zip through them.
Go for it.
Yep. And then this one might actually stretch a little bit longer than the ones we usually do, but I think this content is so profound for the ones that sink their teeth into it. For those that don't, just turn it off early. It's cool. But we do want to get through these points because I think it can help a lot of people. I know it helped me a lot. And I've been digging around in this space for, quite some time. And this was really something kind of new to me. So I'm just going to go through these bullet points. They are in chronological order of the book writing. But if any of this resonates with you, definitely pick up a copy of the book, because I can guarantee there's a lot more that will resonate with you if you dig in. So let's go ahead and start with the first one. We've already kind of covered my first bullet point, and that is that all magic lies in deviance, not sameness, especially in relationships and business growth, and in fact, anything of the human experience. So yeah, if you want to crack where you are and break open that shell, like the song says, Leonard Cohen, the crack's what lets the lights in. A lot of truth in that song. And so seek that deviance, seek out that opposite opinion, remove your program and just be there with the different opinion and just be with it. It's a smart, intelligent human. All humans actually are. They've just been programmed differently from you. And as we go on in these bullet points, you'll see you're both extremely inaccurate when compared to objective cosmic reality. So that's the hard pill to swallow. A lot of people are going to go ahead and turn this off at this point, but that's okay. Those who are still hanging, you're going to listen to something kind of interesting here. So my second bullet point going from that is, can you imagine if we were good at changing our opinions based on just evidence? Imagine what politics would be. Unfortunately, we damage and destroy any politician that changes his mind ever. We throw it in his face or her face. We make sure that the whole world knows, see, he's inconsistent or she's inconsistent. That is the actual last thing that an intelligent, evolved human would ever do. We should promote people who see new evidence and change policy immediately because it's the best information we have at the time. Imagine what parenting would be like if you were really good at changing your opinion based on evidence, latest evidence, so to speak. Imagine what education would be. Woo, doggy. I mean, we've got a broken public education system, and it just has not evolved to what the world literally is right now. Not even close. And I've got 2 kids in the system right now, so I'm allowed to say that. And it is nothing against the teachers. They are doing their best in this juggernaut of a Titanic sinking system. So it's not the people. I don't ever want to think that. They are awesome teachers. But imagine how good it would be if we were good at changing our opinions based on evidence. Fact is, we are not good at deviating based on reality. We're not. The craft of deviating is becoming comfortable with discomfort or becoming comfortable with the unknown. So that's like the meta skill. Tana, in our trainings, we deliver some pretty hardcore meta skills or levers that all humans can pull based on blood chemistry, brain chemistry, and just human design. Well, here's a new meta skill for us to teach, and that is the craft of sitting in that uncomfortable spot or paradox where you pick up the stick, it has 2 ends. That's the truth, and it's uncomfortable. That's where the human neural network grows unbelievably fast and vast. When you sit in that unknown, and your neurons actually grow new dendrites in uncomfort. But when you are not in uncomfort and you sit in sameness or your old program, your neural network is not getting signal to grow. It's just running those same loops. So I think the logic is starting to already kind of surface here for those who are still with us. All deviation outside of comfort greatly expands the neural network. And we're supposed to undulate between chaos and discomfort and comfort and order. Just kind of let that pendulum swing back and forth. You're never supposed to be only in chaos. It'd be terrible. You would die. You'd be a cortisol spiked, amygdala hijacked, crazy person. And we all know some of those people. I've been that person. But you don't want to be that always in perfect order. All the books are perfectly clean. That's no life either. And that will not promote our species forward. We have to, all of us, some of us can spend a little more time in chaos. Some of us can spend a little more time in order. We're all kind of designed and built and programmed in different ways. Know thyself, but know that you're not supposed to sit in one or the other. That is not going to help this species. So get a little bit uncomfortable, go out in chaos more. Or if you're all in chaos land, if you're one of the daredevils on the culture index, swing on over there to order a little bit. Probably do you and those around you some good. So there's no right or wrong in this. It's just awareness of the whole spectrum.
Right.
All right. Yeah. All deviation outside of comfort greatly expands the neural network. So that's, again, going into the same undulation idea. Be a stranger in a strange land was one line that I took out of this. And it doesn't mean necessarily go travel in India and go to an ashram for a while, or exotic jungles and do God knows what psychedelics. It doesn't necessarily mean that. That's one way of going and definitely expanding the experience. But more importantly, he's talking about in your daily life, travel is just a metaphor that means go deeper into your movement, your daily movement with more consciousness, and your thoughts. Go deeper with your thoughts. Be the observer of your thoughts. And that does actually expand dendrites. It makes your neural network bigger. It makes your connectome more connected. And so that's a biggie. And keep in mind here, subjective reality. So that's our belief of reality. It's really just a long telephone game away from actual cosmic objective reality. With all humans, with me, with you, with anybody listening, our brains evolved to know what keeps us alive or what is effective at safety. It did not evolve to tell us or to show us objective reality. We would be very dead if it just showed us reality. It shows us through our program, both ancestral and collective and individual program due to history, the brain and our perception shows us what keeps us safe. And there's the big disconnect right there. So if you need to rewind that and listen to that, please do, because this is kind of the essence of the book. Our meatloaf, this beautiful, miraculous brain in this dark, protected skull, it's in the middle of a stone. Our brain has never directly witnessed reality. It's many steps away from actual observation. So first of all, we have these 5 limited senses: sight, smell, taste, hear, and it feeds into some nerves. It feeds into some areas, like I'm going to take sight, for instance. You see a chair. Well, that's what our culture has agreed to call this object that kind of looks like a chair. But really what's happening is some photons are entering our eyeball. It hits some neurons in the back of our eyeball. Then it throws it to the back of our head, where some imagery and recognition and meaning is assigned to it. And then on top of that, our biases and perceptions and opinions splash all over that. So even something as objective as looking at a chair is 3 steps away from actual reality. And our eyes only see a teeny tiny spectrum of the visual spectrum. Our ears only hear a nano slither of sound, the whole gamut of sound. Same with all senses. Heat, we can only sense so much of the heat. It's a tiny little slither of the whole radiation spectrum, because we would disintegrate if it gets much hotter, and we would freeze and die if it gets much lower. So you see what I'm saying? Our miraculous machine, our body, it is miraculous, but it's unbelievably limited. But we forget that. We really do. I know I do. Even after reading this book, I still forget it.
Right.
But it's all about just awareness. And don't worry, Tana, I'm gonna take a breath here in just a little bit, and I can't wait to hear your thoughts on it. But I just want to continue on my rant.
Oh, in terms of that part of the rant, something I heard once that literally almost made me cry regarding like how much we do not sense is like someone said once, there's literally music flowing through every single room you've ever been in. Because if you put a radio in that room, you would be able to pick up stations and stations of music. But right now, I don't hear it, but it's there. Like at every time since radio waves were invented and we started like putting music and our words over them, that has always been there, but I don't hear it right now. It doesn't mean it's not there though. And that's something that when I heard that, it really like struck me to the point of tears, that there's something so beautiful moving through this space right now, but I don't have the ability to hear it unless I have a radio or some other technology to help me hear it. So it's something I thought of when I was reading that part of the book.
And let's just marinate in what you just said for the count of 2. Because that's truth. That's quantum God truth, that there are actual signals that if our sensories could pick it up, we would hear it, but we need a radio transistor to make it hearable to our very limited capabilities.
Right.
Woo! Fantastic. Thank you for that one. That was fire. All right. Human brain wiring disallows large progress in perception and bias changing. So we're all like, okay, well, how do I kind of like release myself from this invisible prison that we are all in? And it's called our perception and our biases and our opinions. In the East, they call it samskara, and every religion has a word for this mask, this false reality we're living that we have to die to reawaken to. I think if anyone's into religions, you kind of know where I'm going with that. And those religious texts are not wrong. And we'd be dead if we were wired that way to just do what if the brain wiring were wired to be the way we would want it, we would not have survived as a species, is what this author is saying. There's no way. We'd be dead in a week. So we are wired to stay alive. So how do you do this? How do you do this reprogramming of your biases and it's not even, the author does not demonize biases and perceptions and opinions. They are super important. The author is saying, just jump up above them and know that you did not select those. You were handed those, and you signed a contract when you were popped onto this little earth, and you didn't know that you actually do have a choice to re-examine a lot of it.
Right.
And that's what the point is. And how do you do it is get your pen and paper out, ask the word why all the time. You're going to sound like the little 3-year-old boy. Why, Dad? Why? That is exactly what you should be doing. That's why little kids can expand their neural networks so dramatically. It's one of the reasons. Neuroplasticity is known to be a little stronger with younger ones, but ask why all the time. And if you shut off the video now, at least you got the how to do it. You ask why to every thought you have, every time you hate some politician for saying something, every time you disagree with something, or every time you think something is amazing. Why? So that's how to do it. If we were to kind of shortcut it, you reassign new meaning to everything, past, present, and future that you desire to change. We don't want to rewire everything. Heck, this survival thing that our brain evolved to is pretty cool. It kept us alive. Let's keep it. But you should examine things. Mm-hmm. And if you're overreacting, based on fear and history and the coding and the program that you were given, you don't have to overreact anymore. This book basically is just advising that you can now, as a mature adult, be the programmer of those biases, those codes. Do some recoding. Reassign the meaning of your personal history events. I was sexually abused when I was young. That gave me an amazing gift of compassion. I thought about it a lot. I went deep. I surgically removed the negative meaning And I started to understand why that person did it to me. And I understood why that person's relative did it to them. And it made me see that we can be the one that stops it. We can be the one that stops the generational trauma, because that could have very well went a different way with me.
Right.
You know, that stuff's passed down. So is alcoholism. So is laziness. So is, all the vices. Those are usually generational. So when you place new meaning and you almost bless it and thank it and then release it for its own path, and I'm going this way on this fork in the road, it's so powerful. Holy cow. We're not just talking about business now, obviously. We're talking about everything.
Everything.
So he says you can change your future's past. Kind of a tough one to say, wait, what? You can change your future's past by simply going deep with your traumas and with the events of your life, where if it's outside of joy and peace, sit with it and find why it's actually helped you. You know, all the gurus talk about it. I know Tony Robbins has a huge track on this exact thing. So it's a powerful point. After reading this book, and I'm coming to the end of my rant here, after reading this book, if you paid attention, which I did, you can never again ask, why did my life turn out the way it did? You can actually change the future's past starting right now. And from that point forward, you are the assigner of meaning. No thing has an inherent meaning. When it rains on one side of the road, the person who is the woman who is having her wedding that day is going to hate that event. It has a particular meaning. On the other side of the road, on that day, the same day that it rains, that farmer, it's the end of the drought for him. Same exact event, two different meanings. Meanings do not have objective events don't have objective meanings. Humans assign the meaning either deliberately or undeliberately. And about 98% of it is undeliberately if we have not had this awareness shown to us. Right. So now, after reading this book, and even after this small chat, you hopefully have that awareness. And it's best to limit your time with people who don't believe they have pre-programmed biases. Those are those who know not and know not that they know not in the old philosopher's code. There is nothing more limiting to the human experience than not knowing that you have pretty much biases. We're not supposed to get rid of the biases. We're supposed to just be aware of them and be the manager of them instead of being the victim of them, so to speak. Mm-hmm. It's a sneaky little prison that we find ourselves in, this bias thing. You can't see it. It's completely invisible until you finally have someone kind of pull you out and say, hey, look at that. Really smart people are on the left and the right. There's just no way that everyone over there is bad and stupid. There's just no way. So just come to the middle, be more open, and start this progress that this species needs badly with all that's going on. I mean, wow, what an interesting season of life we live in. So let's do this. Let's deviate from our perceptions. Let's allow paradox. And please stop believing that you know objective reality. At best, if you do cross real cosmic reality, it's just a coincidence. It's not because of your perception. So there we go. Woo! I'm going to get a drink and I'm going to turn it over to you, Tana.
That was great. Thank you for being so forthcoming about your own story and your thoughts about the book. Yeah, this book is definitely the time when it becomes most relevant for me is the time when I butt up against something that I do not feel open to. If I feel closed off to something or someone, it's in those situations, my discomfort, instead of my brain saying all the time to me, get away from that because this is an uncertain place and you're not safe. Luckily, my brain has been in those instances so many times that instead it now says, why are you feeling the way you're feeling regarding this person or regarding this reality that you are finding yourself in? My greatest spiritual teacher is my 6-year-old son in this regard, because there are definitely, he is the best teacher that I have, because his reality is so far removed from my reality a lot of times. And we live in the same house, but he wants to do this thing and he wants to do this thing right now. And I don't want to do this thing and I don't want to do that thing ever. And like our realities are just every day butting up against each other. And as a parent, we have kind of collectively throughout history made it seem like, well, my reality is the correct reality, and I should just be able to like push him into whatever I think because he's the kid and I'm the adult and whatever. And there are times when I feel myself wanting to just be like heavy-handed with him and say, no, we're not doing that. But then I say, why is his reality any less important than my reality? And I have to like back away from myself and examine, how am I unaware in this situation? How am I just going on what I've been programmed to do? And it definitely opens up a space where I get to choose differently, because just the awareness that I am unaware, he says in the book, it's the first step. And it definitely is the first step for me when I'm in those uncomfortable situations with my son or with anybody or anything, because that awareness gives you the space and the potential to change what you might naturally and immediately react with, and go with how you would want to react based on the type of person that you want to be. So that's where this book definitely applies. In life.
Yeah, that's great. Your son, Harv, he's a samurai at Y right now. And we try to beat it out of him.
Right.
Because that's what our parents did to us.
Right.
And that's what their parents did to them. And yeah, you're just a kid, you don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Maybe they do get it. Maybe we should not put that Y in the closet. I know why I put my Y in the closet in my early career and in all of life, by the way. I'm still trying this, but because I had this disease to please. I wanted to keep people happy. I didn't want to make them upset and ask why after they get angry with me for asking why.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, when people get angry for you for asking why, you need to triple down on why, because they're hiding something. People don't argue why or that water's wet or fire burns. There's no offense taken. It's like, well, yeah, I got nothing to prove. I mean, it burns, fire burns. If someone gets offended at trying to explain that, then something's missing. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's how fun to think about all of the things in my life that I just let pass on by when my highest self knew, whoa, this is weird, but I don't want to rock the barrel. I'm just going to kind of move on here.
Mm-hmm.
How much time, how many years, how many calories of effort could have been saved by just saying, okay, if that's where you are, I got to go somewhere else. And I get it. There's still money you got to make. You can't just walk out of every job. Life isn't like that. But I bet we could have pushed the envelope way further and had a lot more progress.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's this also, we like to tie everything. I know we're coming up on time here, but we like to tie everything back to, the brain science of all this. And so he does mention how, yeah, your neural network actually expands. You can watch it physically expand when you jump into that unknown chaos world, or left or right, jump into something else and experience it. Your brain literally gets bigger. So I like a bigger brain. I'm going to keep doing it more. The other thing that's brain-based, and he really didn't touch on it in this book, but it's that left hemisphere, right hemisphere of our brain. Most people think, oh, math and stuff, that goes to left hemisphere. And some of the woo-woo stuff, that goes to right hemisphere. At least that's, the narrative I was fed for a long time. Well, now we know both hemispheres and all of your brain gets a crack at pretty much everything. The left hemisphere is the fast hemisphere that knows everything of all of us. So here's an experiment. If I ask you, Tana, which way is up? Your left hemisphere is right away going to be like, that's a dumb question. Up is up. It's up there. And then if I gave you a little more time and said, let's take 3 deep breaths and really think about it. Is that actually up? Your right hemisphere would then get a chance to chew on it. It's slower. And it would say, well, I get it. It seems like up is there, but isn't Earth rotating?
Mhm.
Yeah, it is. So which way is up then? And then heck, Earth is rotating, it's going around the sun too while it's spinning. So now we really got a mess. Now I really don't know which way is up. Oh, and by the way, our sun, which the Earth is rotating around the galaxy. And our galaxy is rotating somewhere in deep space, and we have no idea which way is up. That is the truth. So thank God for our right brain, but we have to give it time to, kind of meld with the fast know-it-all left brain. And sometimes the left brain says, hey, there's a car coming. If I don't jump, I'm dead. You don't want to wait for your right brain then. So
Mhm.
again, we're not talking about left or right here. We're talking about all of it matters.
Mhm.
All of it's important. We have to sit and be with all of it, just like our brain. So this, getting outside of our biases takes a lot of patient right brain, slower thinking. The book, Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman, I think. Whoa, what a profound book if you haven't chewed on that one yet. But that's what this is all about, thinking fast and slow. That is what this book is. You will get rid of your biases if you can just calm your egoic self down. I'm talking to me too, guys.
Yeah.
Just long enough to breathe 90 seconds to get that emotional intelligence in there, get your full brain at it, not just what you know, because that's a prison.
Agreed.
Amen, sister.
I agree. Embrace the uncertainty.
Yes, yes. All right. Do you have any closing comments, or are we good to go?
Just again, like always, we did not touch on everything or even most things in the book. So check it out yourself, because we like to support these people and their books and their authorship. So check it out. There's more than what we discussed today.
Yes. Rock on. We'll see you next book chat.
Thanks, everybody.